Welcome to the Vetiver Vibes podcast. We're your hosts, Nikki, Rachel, and Rhonda, certified clinical aromatherapists coming to you from Ontario, Canada, and on the internet everywhere.
This episode is brought to you by Essentria, a leading online school for aromatherapy. Essentria is your go-to source for clinical aromatherapy certification programs that are recognized by NAHA and the Canadian Federation of Aromatherapists.
If you want to learn more about how to use aromatherapy with kids, check out their website, www.schoolofessentria.com. We're excited that you've given your time to be here with us, knowing you'll get the best essential oil scoop. Hello, and thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Vetiver Vibes. I am delighted to be here with Kayla Fioravanti, and she has been a leading expert in the natural cosmetic industry for over 24 years. In 1998, she co-founded Essential Wholesale, one of the first all-natural cosmetic ingredient companies that started out with $50 in her kitchen and grew to a multi-million-dollar company, all the while raising 3 kids. As Ology's chief formulator, Kayla is able to bring to life her unique ideas and product formulations. Kayla is also an aromatherapist, business consultant, and an award-winning author. So thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And so, I mean, on a different episode, I think I really want to dive deep into how you went from $50 to multi-million-dollar company, because that would be a great episode to do also.
Yeah.
But today we are going to focus on some love reconnection. Valentine's Day is next week, just around the corner. And a lot of people we find they disconnect from themselves, get lost in relationships, get lost. And it's just nice to reconnect with the loved ones around us and reconnect with ourselves too. People always focus on Valentine's Day about, your partner, kids, but love is love, and love yourself first is always important. Yeah. So that maybe you can start with sharing just how did you get into aromatherapy?
Gosh, I am an accidental aromatherapist. It was nowhere on my radar as an interest. And my son got ringworm on his face, and nothing was working. Everything over the counter, nothing, none of the prescriptions, nothing. And so I went to the local health food store. I grew up overseas. So for me, it's like, well, let's go to the health food store. It's kind of similar to the apothecary.
Yeah.
And I stood there in the aisle reading books and looking for what the cure was for ringworm naturally, and absolutely everything talked about tea tree. So, young and had not a huge bank account. So I invested $11, and it was I remember standing there going, oh, I hope this works. Invested $11 in a bottle of tea tree. And it changed my life. It cured my son's ringworm in 3 days.
Nice.
I have been allergic to fragrances my whole life. So I was living in this totally unscented world. And this tea tree not only worked, but it didn't make me sick. And so I was like, wait, there's something else out there in the world that maybe I'm not allergic to. And so it turns out I'm allergic to chemical fragrances, but I'm not allergic to the ones created in nature. So I started researching, got every book under the sun, ordered from the library, read them all, became fascinated, became an aromatherapist because I was so excited and so involved in it all. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, well, now what do I put it all in? What do I put these essential oils in? Because I'm also allergic to chemical cosmetics. Yeah. So then I ended up kind of going back to the library, figuring it all backwards from reading the patents on chemical formulas, and then coming up with a way to formulate naturally backwards, basically.
Nice. Yeah. That is awesome. And I agree. A lot of people think that they're allergic to fragrances, perfumes, all of that, myself included. Walking through the mall, instant headache, walking through some of those stores, instant headaches, but it's that the chemical, the fakeness of it. Right. that definitely reacts to a lot of people. And a
Right.
lot of people are pleasantly surprised when they can smell essential oils and being like, oh, this isn't making me sick.
Right.
I have tools. It's like, yes, when it's nice and pure and the essential oil, it's a beautiful thing to use. So
Yeah, definitely. I'm thrilled to still not be allergic to essential oils, even with all my exposure. I'm super careful
yeah,
because I want to make sure I can use them for a lifetime.
yes, absolutely. So one question we love to ask all of our guests is, what is your favorite oil?
So that's a hard one.
I know.
Because they're like, because as an aromatherapist, you end up with different purposes for every essential oil. Like, this is my favorite. So if I want to transform a blend and I want to really kind of, it's going someplace, but the scent isn't going where I want it to go, add a little cistus in there, and that will take me in a whole nother direction and change drastically. So I love cistus for that. I love the plant itself. It's just very cool. I love lavender for, it's medicine in a bottle, it's just the most amazing thing. Like it's good for everything.
It is. It's a Swiss Army knife, I always say.
Right, right. Totally. I'm stealing that. Swiss Army knife.
I didn't come up with it, so go ahead.
They're wrong with every world. Yeah, totally. That's exactly what it is. So I love that. And then I have a lot of respiratory things. So like personally, I like laurel leaf. That is just really soothing and comforting essential oil, and it really impacts me in good positive ways when I'm not feeling well.
Awesome. And it's
I had
hard
to
to
go with
pick
three,
just
sorry.
one. No,
If I had to just pick one,
and
I had to pick
it's so
just-
hard.
it'd be lavender. If I had to
Oh,
just,
wow, nice.
if the world was ending and you could only take one essential oil with you, it's going to be lavender because I could use it for everything.
Yeah, nice. It is. And I often find I'm like, well, it depends on the day. It depends on the minute as to what that answer could be. I'm like, last week is going to be different than this week.
Right.
But no, that's
Yeah.
great. All right. So turning to ourselves, let's say, as we get into essential oils, are there any essential oils that you find can help us that reconnect with ourselves? And I find, and this is where I find a lot of subtle aromatherapy comes into play, because there's different ways on how aromatherapy can be used. And I love the subtle aspects, the energy aspects, and the physical aspects, the emotional aspects. So when we're looking at, loving those around us, loving ourselves, would you say that there's a few top essential oils that you like to use?
I think it's got to be, it's so personal because it's got to be what really connects with you. And so that's one of those ones where it's got to be just very much what you love. I love, and speaking of subtle, I love vanilla absolute. Acting it into like jojoba oil or something like that, where all you end up with is just kind of that leftover subtle aroma, and you don't even take the absolute with. You just use that extracted oil. That's like kind of one of my more favorite, really soothing, comforting sort of scents. And we use that for, how we do some scenting for other people's products. I make somebody's intimate product that's made that way, and it's super popular because it's just so mild and subtle and mellow, and we just don't need, everything doesn't have to be overwhelming and super strong. I also like jasmine for that reason too, because you barely need any, and then it's just subtly there, this beautiful aroma that kind of lingers, but isn't overwhelming, unless of course you put too much in, but like just at the price of jasmine, you're not gonna.
No, one drop goes a long way, and the aroma of it really does go a long way with just one drop.
It does. I actually spilled something that just had a little bit of jasmine in my car in this little cubby thing, and so every time I open the cubby, there's just this tiny subtle jasmine that comes out, and I'm always like, oh, I just love that.
That's when, if you have road rage, just open it up. You're like, oh, there we go.
Right?
If someone cuts you off, it's like, okay, just give me my little bit of jasmine.
Yeah, well, I actually have my tissues in there. So anytime I have
That's nice.
a tissue out, I'm always like, oh, so so
Oh, that's
pleasant.
so good. And you brought up a really great point, though, of saying that it is individual for each person. And I think that's something people forget about often, is that what works for one person won't necessarily work for someone else, I should say. And so it is important to keep that in mind and to try different things out and
Mhm.
follow your nose. Follow your nose and heart.
Yeah.
I was saying that, I was talking to someone earlier today, and that came to mind, where it was follow your nose and heart and it won't steer you wrong.
Yes.
So
Well, that's
I
so
really
good.
love that.
And I like that I just recently had an experience where I kind of got to see that lived out. I was at a memory care facility, and we were making little personal aromatherapy diffusers for people there. And there was one lady who was there who was completely nonverbal. She had no ability to speak anymore. She was in a wheelchair, and she was sitting right next to me. And she didn't seem, really to be paying attention. But every time we'd come around and I'd bring the scent up to her nose, she would come to life, and she'd just perk up and her eyes would get bright, and she would make this delightful little sweet sound.
Yeah.
And between, like, we were able to come up with a blend with her just by responding to her reactions. And when I gave her the little, personal diffuser to take, she just sat there and she was so happy with it and just so pleased. And I was like, you guys need to let her family know that she really responds to aromatherapy and has very pleasant memories, obviously, connected to scents. So it was really beautiful to watch.
That is, that's such a heartwarming story, and amazing how deep the aromas can touch people and bring out, like you said, someone who's nonverbal and interacting with the scent like that. That's a powerful, powerful story. Thank you. Absolutely. So when we are looking to reconnect with partners, are there any essential oils that are aphrodisiacs? Those are always
There's a lot that
fun.
are
People are looking for different ways to reconnect, and
right.
aphrodisiacs are fun to play with.
Yeah, and there's a lot that are said to be, but it has to be that your partner likes that scent. Like,
Yes.
so you can be like, anise is one of those ones where it's said to be an aphrodisiac, but there's so many people who have such strong feelings about that scent.
Yeah.
It would be, really a negative one. And same with like lang lang. It's an aphrodisiac, but it's so super floral that to some people it's a complete and total turn off.
Yeah. That's another one that's one drop. Typically, if I'm making something, like one drop and that's it. And like anything more than that is just too overpowering.
Yeah. I call it a hijacker. It's one of the essential oils that hijacks the blend. If you aren't subtle enough with it, blends really well. I like it as a blend. I hate it individually. Like I never would pick up lang lang and put it on myself. And I don't know. Everybody says it's slightly different, and I'm terrible at pronouncing things, so don't.
No, I say it as ylang also.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, before we get everybody,
the
whole world going. So
that's like the bergamot. That one is bergamot. That one is also another one that people say different.
Yeah.
If you enjoy our podcast and find value in what we share, please consider supporting Vetiver Vibes by buying us a tea. This small token of support has a huge impact on us and allows us to keep bringing you more great content. You can buy us a tea by going to the show notes and clicking Buy Us a Tea. Thanks for your continued support and listening to Vetiver Vibes.
I thought it was really interesting. I was reading something of Dr. Hirsch from the Smell and Taste Institute. And he did some studies trying to see what was an aphrodisiac for men and what was for women. And his for men turned out to be donuts and cinnamon buns.
Really?
And
That's funny.
And for women, good and plenty, which would be anise, basically, very, very close in aroma. So, or sweet fennel, or, there's several things that fall in that kind of scent category. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting. So it just goes on also to how personal it is, that it's just, everybody's different in what turns them on. And they were literally studying to see what was literally turning them on. Like there were electrodes and things like that to see what's happening. So it wasn't more of people saying, this makes me feel this way or that way. It was a physical reaction. So so it was really, I thought that was interesting, but it also just, talks about how personal it is. That, it could be that there's some kind of stomach relation or something really interesting kind of.
No. And I mean, what is it they say? A way to a man's heart is through his stomach.
Right.
So I mean, the donuts and the cinnamon buns, I guess that works. And I mean, some cinnamon, so nice diffuser blend with cinnamon in it, maybe, or
right, a little that you could do. Actually, I find that when you extract the vanilla absolute into an oil, and then apply it to the skin, it almost smells like marshmallows. So on that super sweet, marshmallowy donut, kind of like sugary, sweet sort of thing. So so I think I might have accidentally stumbled upon a really good thing for my customer's intimate blend.
Nice. Yeah, I've never thought of donuts. And actually, I haven't played with vanilla in a while because I lost my vanilla for 2 years and I refused to buy another one. And I just found it 3 weeks ago. So I'm super excited. Yes. And actually, no, 2 weeks ago when I was cleaning out a closet, and I was like, I found this little box and it had a few oils in it and I kept saying, like, it was from when we moved, and I'm like, where did that box go? Where did it go? And so I just refound it.
That's so good. I'm glad you found it.
Yeah, because I was like, I'm not buying it. I know it's here somewhere. So I'm excited to play with it again. And it's been so long that I'm gonna see if it smells like marshmallowy. But it does. It has that. I remember like just that subtle sweetness. Is just nice and light, and it's just nice.
Right. So it's kind of it's an essential oil that can kind of bring you in the direction of Dr. Hirsch's studies.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so would you recommend more of a topical use or an aromatic use when couples are trying to reconnect? What would you recommend?
Well, I think you can, I would say both. I mean, a just kind of subtle in the background, because you couldn't use like cinnamon topically.
No.
Use some of the ones that might be good for that in a topical way, but you could with jasmine, you can do that with lang lang, you can do it with patchouli, several others. So you could make some sort of blend just for the connection of touch and massage and that sort of product. We make an intimate product under our brand, and we use hemp terpenes in ours. So it's very, very mildly scented. And terpenes kind of give you some other options in the aromatherapy world that are really unique. So we use one called strawberry banana, and it literally smells like strawberry banana.
Oh,
it just nice. Comes from the hemp plant. But so kind of gives you some other options, and they're really mild. These terpenes, and then they can be used at really, really low levels for a good impact. So there's different ways, to combine that. We're big on the CBD world as well. So that product have CBD and the terpenes, and that nice. Makes a good connection. But
absolutely. Yeah. And one thing too, I think if you're using oils that are okay topically, is where I think, massaging your partner that touch aspect is a nice way to help rekindle. So you've got the aroma, you've got the touch. It's just a nice way and then, massage each other. And it's just a good way to reconnect physically and reconnect emotionally, reconnect, they're on all the different levels that way. We, as humans, we're meant to have physical contact with other people. So, giving a nice back massage, foot massage, it's going to add to that connection.
Correct.
So.
I would also say be very aware of the carrier oils you use for any massage, because, well, one, lots of carrier oils go rancid and can make the sheets smell gross. So you want to use something like fractionated coconut oil or jojoba or metafoam. Those three won't go rancid in your sheets. And then the other is that if you are using condoms and there's, obviously hand touch and all this mix, you don't want many mineral oil or anything that will break down the efficient. Can't even say the word right now.
Efficiency.
Yeah.
Are you going for?
Yeah. So there are several oils that we did extensive research, I was like, how am I here in my life right now doing extensive research to make sure that our intimate product would not break down condoms. And so it was in that whole bunny trail and reading all the research, I'm like, oh, actually, this is kind of really important that people know that that's a good number of carrier oils can break down a condom.
Yeah, because I'm assuming that's the last thing someone would want if you're not trying to get pregnant or anything like that. It's, you do want that to stay how it's supposed to work. That is very important. Absolutely. Yeah. So what was that third carrier oil that you mentioned? So you had mentioned metafoam.
Yeah.
Okay.
Metafoam. It's it blends well with the others. You wouldn't want it alone. It's a little bit it'd be a little bit sticky alone, but when it blends with others, it makes a really nice slip.
Oh, nice.
Looking for a nice massage slip. Metafoam brings that to your blend.
Nice. And the other thing I also wanted to mention too is, no, we don't want to use any kind of blend internally or on any private members.
Yes.
So we want to avoid direct contact on any of the private areas, and more so for, massaging around other body places.
Correct.
So,
and it's there's hand touching transfer.
Yes, there's going to actually be, absolutely, some little transfer where you want to make sure that nothing will break down the efficiency of anything being used, because there will be transfer, absolutely, but you don't want to specifically for the purpose of on genitals in any way. So just to make that clear too.
Most definitely, yes.
Yeah, it's great because carrot oils does make a difference too. If you're applying them topically, you need to have a carrot oil. And so thanks for bringing that up. It is absolutely really, really important. And so you mentioned your product that you make. So can you talk to us about, where can people find that product and a little bit more about the intimate products that you have?
Yeah. So ologyessentials.com is my website, and we make a product called Intimate Oil. And you can find that there. We also make massage oils, and we're always, as a formulator, I'm super cautious of how things will transfer onto people's sheets or towels, or so if it's a bath product or whatever, I'm always really cautious about that in general. And then for people who want to have their own intimate product for the next season, because it's too late now for February, but ologyessentialslabs.com is where we do all our private label and custom formulating for people.
Awesome. And you made me just think of something too. And you said that a bath would be a really great way. And for solo or partner, I'm a huge bath person. I love to read in the bath. Reading is just my go-to downtime, but having a nice bath with some beautiful oils in there that you're drawn to, that you like, maybe a couple of candles if you like the candles, some low lights, music, meditation, any of that type of stuff. And then, if you just to reconnect with yourself, take half an hour, have a nice Epsom salt with oil bath, reconnect with yourself. Or if you want to have your partner come in with you and take a bath, I think that would be another amazing way too, to incorporate reconnecting, spending time together. And again, picking out a couple of oils and adding, make sure you add a little bit of carrot oil into the bath also when you do add them. And, taking half an hour soak in the tub with your partner. I think that's another great option.
It is a great way. Yeah, definitely. We make a blend called She that's blended for the mind, body, and spirit of the woman. And that is a great, like if you're trying to reconnect with yourself even before then that's a great essential oil blend for that. We talk to people, they're like, yeah, my husband knows that if I've got one of those bath bombs and I'm heading into the bathtub, it's going to be an hour, but I'll be when I when I come out.
Oh, that's awesome. And it's that reconnecting, bringing back our mind, body, soul connection is so important. It's so easy to get lost in the everyday hustle bustle of the world. If you have kids or you don't have kids, if you have fur kids, or you just into work, you become a workaholic, you lose track of yourself. I know I've done it, and when I've been better, I'm going to hesitately say I've been trying to get better and better of when I recognize, like, okay, I'm tapping out and I need to just reconnect. And so I'm trying to see that more in myself, because I know it makes a difference in the rest of my day too.
Right.
So it does. It's easy to get lost. And so
most definitely.
Awesome. Well, is there any other points or recommendations that you would like to make, or just any other words of wisdom you would like to share with our listeners?
Oh gosh, that's a good question here. Let's see. I think since we're talking about bedtime and that sort of thing, I think one of the big things that I see people overdo is using diffusers at bedtime. And so I would say kind of my words of wisdom on that is like, just have it on as you're either trying to have your intimate time or trying to go to sleep, but don't have it set to go all night long. Have it set to go for maybe a half hour, whatever, but not the full 8 hours of your sleep time. So, because people are just kind of overdoing it with aromatherapy. And while I sell essential oils, I don't want people to overuse them in one thing up front. I want them to use them for a lifetime. So
Yes.
Looking for ways where you kind of use your aromatherapy, but don't overuse it.
Yes, and that is an awesome point. Thanks for reminding our listeners of that. And it's something that we're trying to talk more and more about too, is, if you have a timer on your diffuser, amazing. Most of them, thankfully now, I think, come with them. It's more the norm versus even 5 years ago. It was still hard to find some with diffusers, but they are mostly coming out with timers on them now. And it is, set it for, like you said, 30 minutes, an hour, and then take a break. It's important to take that break. So we don't want to overstimulate ourselves. So thank you. And so if people want to get in touch with you, where would be the best place to get in touch?
Well, Ology Essentials is always a great place. You'll go to Juliana, who is one of our owners and kind of the right-hand person. And she kind of makes sure that I see it, because I work most of the time. And so when people are looking for me, I'll get messages, DMs, and things like that. And I'm like, please message over here, where somebody will corral me and chase me down, because I will happily just play in my lab and never sit at a computer. So the very best way is ologyessentials.com. And also, you can find Ology Essentials on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and all the places.
Oh, wow. Even on TikTok. Nice. Oh,
Mhm.
we
Yeah.
haven't ventured to TikTok yet. We've talked
Yeah.
about it, but it's a commitment.
I have a very young crew. So
Nice. And we'll have all those links in the show notes too, where people
Yeah.
can, go to your website, see, the different products that you've mentioned that all sound very, very lovely. And I am excited to hopefully try some of them. Now, do you ship to Canada? That's the thing. Because
We ship anything to Canada, lets us ship to Canada.
Okay.
So if it has hemp in it, we can't, because
Yeah.
Canada,
That's the downfall.
yeah,
Yeah,
just
that's
has
the
it. But if it
downfall.
doesn't have hemp, we can.
Nice.
And then I mean, Ology Essentials Labs .com, that's our other site. There we do things where we customize them so that they can export all kinds of places. We work in several countries.
Awesome. Well, that all sounds absolutely amazing. Thank you for being on the show with us today, and looking forward to connecting with you again in the future. And maybe we'll have you come back on in the future and talk more about the business aspect, because going from, $50 to multi-million is absolutely amazing, and something that a lot of people only dream of. So that would be amazing to dive deeper into too.
Yeah, definitely.
So
love that.
yeah. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Vetiver Vibes. I'm Nikki Fraser here with Kayla, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
This episode was brought to you by Essentria, a leading online aromatherapy school. You can join the free introduction to essential oil course at www.schoolofessentria.com.
If you love this episode or you got a lot of value out of it, please make sure you share it with someone in your community who you think will enjoy it too. If you haven't already subscribed or reviewed the show yet, please go over to your preferred streaming platform and hit subscribe, then leave a review. This is the best way to help support us, and we appreciate it. Email us with a screenshot of your review, and you will be entered into our monthly draw for a free mini course.
This podcast is for information purposes only. We are certified clinical aromatherapists and holistic health professionals. If you have a medication concern, please refer to your health team. Everyone's health is unique to themselves, so the topics and suggestions stated may or may not apply to you directly.